So I'm gonna start off by turning on screencast keys so you guys could see all my keyboard and mouse inputs. So we're gonna be using BlenderKit, and I'll leave a link down in the description for you to download BlenderKit. So we're gonna go up here, click on this square looking icon, which is basically the objects tab. So click on that and then go to the search bar, and we're just gonna search up grass. So most of these are paid. If you want to use these, you gotta have the premium membership for BlenderKit, but we're just gonna find one that's free and use that. It doesn't really matter which one you use. I'm just gonna go with this one, and I'm just gonna drag it into my scene. Now, if you go to the side panel, you can see collection and then our object underneath it. We're not gonna be needing the collection tab, so you're just gonna click on it and just delete it. So we're gonna go back to our object, press A to select all of them, then press Alt P to clear their parents. And we're just gonna also delete the axis because we're not gonna be needing it. After that, I'm just gonna go into top view, and I'm gonna select each individual grass and duplicate them and just scatter them around the scene. I'm going to also just change their dimensions by scaling them up in height or their width to differentiate them, to add more variety to the scene. Once you're happy with how your scene looks, you can just go up to the scene collection and just uncheck this box, and it's just gonna hide the scene away. And after that, we're just gonna press Shift A and add a mesh to our scene. And to make things easier to track, I'm just gonna rename this mesh to a base, and I'm also going to add it to a collection and call that base as well. So another good thing about BlenderKit is that you can use it for textures as well. So we're gonna go up here on the textures tab, and since we've already got grass in our search bar, you're gonna click down here and you can see all the grass textures we can choose from. So choose whichever one you want and just drag it down onto the base, and we can view it by going into the material preview mode. And we're gonna UV unwrap this texture because you can see how it looks weird and all that. So just press U and UV unwrap. Now we're gonna work on the UV editor. So just drag your mouse from the top left corner of the screen, and we're gonna change this to a UV editor. So using the UV editor, we can just adjust the texture on our object to whatever we want it to look like. And once we're done with that, we're just going to change this to a geometry node editor. So on our geometry node editor, you can see we've got two nodes, the group input node and the group output node. And we're just going to be putting all our other nodes in between these two. So we're going to put our first node, which is the instance on points node. So Shift A and just search up instance on points node and just drag it between the two input and output nodes. And we're also going to add a distribute points on faces node. So Shift A and distribute points on faces and drag it between the input and the instance on points node. After that, we're also going to add a join geometry node. So add a join geometry node, and we're going to place it between the instant on points node and the group output node. And we're going to grab these two nodes, move them out of the way, and you're going to connect the input node to the join geometry node as well. So we're going to go back to our side panel and check the grass collection that we hid earlier. We're going to bring it back, and we're going to drag it and place it into the geometry node editor. And now if you connect the instances node to the instant on points node like this, and now you can see we've got a lot of grass growing out now. So I'm gonna go back here and click reset children as well. Now when I try scaling the plane up, you can see the grass also generates around it as well. So it's a pretty cool feature if you want to make a plane where you want the objects to regenerate around them. So now we're gonna add a camera to our scene. So Shift A, add a camera, and we're gonna press Control Alt Numpad 0, and we're gonna be able to see from the view of the camera. So now select your camera and just adjust it in whatever way you want it to. After that, we're just gonna go into our rendered view, and since now you can see it's pretty dark, so to fix that we're gonna add a HDRI. So you can add a custom HDRI or whatever HDRI you want to, but for this tutorial we're just gonna use a standard one that we have in Blender. So go over here, click on this yellow circle, and we're just gonna go and add a sky texture. So numpad 0, you can see what our scene looks like when it's rendered. I'm going to play around with the settings because this is a bit too bright. So I'm going to lower the intensity and just mess around with the settings for a while. Okay, so now if you look at our scene from above, the pattern of the grass, it kind of looks repetitive. So to fix that, we're going to add a random value node. So Shift A, random value node, and we're going to place it in our editor, and we're going to connect the value to the scale on the instance on points node. So now if you play around with the minimum and the maximum values, you can see how the grass kind of reacts to it. So you can adjust it to however you want. So from our side panel, we're going to quickly bring back our original set of grass that we used to make all of these. So if you, I'm going to drag it out here. So if you like mess around with them or just like scale them differently, you can see like it copies that on the main field that we made as well. So if you want to make any changes, you can just do it to the original object that we used in our editor. Now we won't be needing the editor anymore, so you can close it, and now we're gonna go and adjust our render settings. So for our render settings, we're gonna keep the max samples at 128, we're gonna turn on denoise, and we're going to keep the render engine as cycles and GPU compute. It may vary on your computer specifications, but this one is pretty optimal for most PCs out there. So now we're gonna go on to our scene settings and check render region. So what this is going to do, it's going to help us render the scene faster because it's only going to render the relevant scene, so the only visible parts in the camera. And now if we go to our camera view, you can see we've got this empty space behind us. So to not render that, we're going to go down under film, we're going to click on this transparent option. So now we should be all set to render our scene. So we're going to go into the solid view to use less resources, and we're going to press F12.